Welcome back to a fourth installment of Tires and Treads. We got here John Peterson and me, Max Soren. It's a late episode. We had some little technical difficulties on a plethora of issues, so we kind of skipped last week. And then you're getting this episode on a Monday, so I think I'll be here saying that we can't really stick to a schedule of a weekly episodes. We're going to need to just stick to a schedule of we do it when we can. This might mean more frequent episodes or more less frequent episodes. It will most definitely relieve some stress off of me because it does take a lot of work, these episodes, when it comes to the planning, execution, editing, and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, besides the introductions out of the way, today's episode is going to be about the top 10 best four-doors in the city. So we got 10 four-doors, we tested all of them, we gave them the acceleration rating, tested their top speed, looked at their prices and how much they are worth and all that kind of good stuff, and we put them in a list. So John, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Yeah, for our current top 10 list, the number 10 will be the Solheim Classic. We have found out that the top speed is about 176 miles per hour, and we would say the acceleration is around like a 3.5 out of a 5. Some good things about the car is that it has decent handling, it's easy to drive, and it looks pretty good. The thing that kind of weighs this car down a little bit is the fact that it's priced at $344,000 compared to some of the other cars on this list that are a lot cheaper.
If I'm not mistaken, that is the second most expensive car that we actually have on the list. Now, obviously, if we're talking about four doors, we're definitely going to be talking about the Komoda. It's going to be somewhere up higher in the list. And the Komoda is around $600,000, and this thing is $344,000, which is still mind-blowingly expensive. The 10th most highest performing car, well, the 10th best four-door overall, we would say, and it's the second most expensive one. It's kind of a little bit ridiculous. Right. Any other comments about this one?
I personally haven't really driven it that much, so I don't really have any opinions I would say about it. First of all, it's a pretty sick looking car. I like how it looks, but it's not really. Yeah, it's also pretty popular for being a four-door.
Oh yeah, definitely. When we were test driving this, we noticed that you could be very confident with the vehicle. Like, it has a lot of good traits, but still not enough to be considered better than 10th place. Honestly, it barely made it into the list. Like, there was a lot of other contenders for top 10. There was the Tulip, very high performing vehicle, but kind of not that good in the corners. Costs also around $200,000-$300,000. I do not remember right now. A lot of people don't know that's a four-door. Then we had the Rune Cheburek, which is a small, nimble little thing, very cheap, but apparently it has lost its mojo as of recent weeks. So unfortunately, that thing falls out. But yeah, without further ado, let's go into the number 9. That's going to be the Dubsta 2. For $84,000. So we definitely stepped down in price here. You're getting top speed of 173, so only 3 miles an hour less than the Solheim Classic. The acceleration is a little bit worse, but it's an SUV. Come on, like 3 out of 5, we gave it on acceleration. But the thing is, since it's a SUV, it is an absolute tank. Like, the vehicle is extremely rigid. You put some chassis reinforcement and you have an actual battering ram that travels 173 miles an hour. That is pretty deadly. The few drawbacks of this thing is it stands very high. Even though you lower the suspension, it still stands very high. So on high speeds, your steering is not that good. And but still, come on, $84,000 for a G-Wagon. Any complaints? No, not from me, John.
I personally have the normal Dubster, and I just recently got it fully upgraded. And I would say even the normal Dubster is also pretty good. I haven't really looked into the top speeds yet, but I think they are pretty similar in the top speed, acceleration, handling, things like that, and how durable they are. So yeah, after driving the normal Dubstep for a bit, I can personally say that the Dubstep is a really good budget car.
Absolutely.
And even the Dubstep 2, for example.
The Dubstep and the Dubstep 2, both great cars, but the Dubstep 2 is a little bit higher in performance. Now, number 8, John, go ahead.
Yeah. So in the number 8 spot, we got the Kuruma. From the cars above, it doesn't really have the best top speed. It's at around 157 miles per hour, but the acceleration is I would say 3.5 out of 5, which is kind of similar to the Sultan Classic in rating, for example, but it doesn't really have the top speed. But the things that are really good with the Kuruma is that it has amazing braking, and it has pretty good handling as well, but it lacks the top speed, unfortunately. This car will set you back about 185,000 roughly, and still a pretty solid, four-door for the price.
Yeah, the one thing that surprised me about the Kuruma when I was testing it is its ability to power out of a corner. It's very surprisingly light, and when you, with those brakes, you literally brake, pull the handbrake for a little bit, you make a little bit of a 90-degree slide, and you're already shooting out into a different direction. If you're being chased and you're running into alleyways, this is a fantastic four-door. Obviously, there are better vehicles for going into alleyways, but if you want a four-door, that's the one. That's the one for little tiny alleyway kerfuffles. Anything else we should add? All right.
I mean, if you're into like JDM cars, the Kuruma kind of looks like a Mitsubishi.
It is a Mitsubishi Evo 10. You are right. Yeah. Right, up next we got number 7, the VSTR. Top speed 164, acceleration 3.5 out of 5, and it's going to set you back $308,000. It looks good, handles great, but it's a little bit on the more expensive side. Now the acceleration really, all these cars are pretty good at acceleration. Almost all of them on the list, besides the Dubster, really. The VSTR was one of the ones that barely made it into the 3.5. She handles very heavily, but some people actually really like that, at least from what I've heard. But for everything that I felt that it actually had, like, if it had the price of the Kuruma, it would be somewhere around the top 4, definitely. But for 308 stock, I can't put it higher than 7th. I'm sorry. That was just a little bit. It was not difficult for me to put it that low, but the price, man, the price says a lot. When you're paying that much, you're supposed to get as much as you paid for. But there are vehicles that give way more for way less. So unfortunately, VSTR number 7. John, any comments?
No, not really.
Alrighty then. For reference, these prices are what you're supposed to pay for cars off of Habibi Autos. If you're listening to this episode and you want one of these cars on this list, give me a call and I'll meet you at Habibi's. A little bit of a plug over there. All right, John, go ahead with number 6.
Oh yeah, the number 6 is the Rebla GTS. It's one of the more popular SUVs as of before, but it's still a pretty good car nonetheless. The top speed is about 186 miles per hour, and the acceleration I would say is around a 3.5 out of 5. This car will set you back around $276,000, and I would say it has a really good top speed. It's it's extremely durable for being an SUV, and pretty good overall. I would personally say it's worth the price, and you can even put like customizations on it. Make it lower. You can put off-road tires if you want to drive a little bit better off-road. You can put street tires if you want to handle better on the streets, and you can also put a NOS kit on it. And this car is it's gonna be a fucking rocket. It's pretty good.
I mean, this thing is currently our highest performing vehicle when it comes to top speed. 186 miles an hour. That is mind-blowing for an SUV, for a box on wheels, honestly. The same as the Dubstep. It's an absolute tank. But the acceleration a little bit lax. It does slide in high speed corners a little bit. But besides that, it's definitely worth the price. 276. I mean, that's a solid car. 4-door, trunk, everything you need. Stylish, very stylish. Right. So moving on, if no comments. Moving on to number 5. This is where the list really started to get complicated. This is where shit got difficult to judge. The Jugular. There's gonna be some people really not liking my opinion on this, but hold your horses. Top speed 175 miles an hour. Acceleration 4.5 out of 5. Now, people say that the Jugular is the fastest accelerating 4-door in the city. But there is another one that is just a little bit faster. We had a specific point A to point B race where we sort of test the acceleration, and where they are at a specific point is how we measure them. And also at the end there's the top speed sort of speed trap. And the Jugular, unfortunately, after 3 runs, it still came second. This is the second fastest accelerating 4-door in the city, safely. I can safely say that. $240,000. It is a solid 4-door, fantastic, but it's not meant for the city. This 4-door is meant for you to go around in sandy shores on the asphalt roads. Quick turns, good acceleration, power out of the corner to maximize the performance. This thing has one major flaw, and that is slow speed brakes. It brakes very good, but once you get into 30 miles an hour, the brake calipers just become bars of soap. It just doesn't stop those last miles. I don't know what's with it, but it just doesn't stop. So for sharp turns and quick maneuvering, it's not really the best unless you choose to drift. Which is honestly, it is a viable option. But that's my take on it, John.
I think the Jugular looks pretty good.
Oh, so, looks wise, absolutely.
Yeah. I have driven it myself a couple of times with the regulator boys and girls, for that sake. And I would say I'm pretty happy about how the car turns out.
Right. Well, number 4 is yours.
Yeah. So the number 4 spot is gonna be the Tailgater S. The top speed we have gotten it up to 188 miles per hour, and the acceleration I would say is a 4 out of 5. Um, the car itself will put you back like $273,000, but it's one of the most stylish four doors on the list. So, yeah, that's my personal that's my personal take on it. I would also like to mention that all of these top speed races that we have done has been on Mexican roads. It has all been filmed and tested out in Mexico.
Yeah, so don't go LAPD. Don't go be busting out our asses for moving 150 miles an hour plus and stuff like that. But yeah, tailgater S 188 miles an hour. On the highest we had so far, acceleration 4, very solid. This is one of the few cars that has speed and acceleration for under $300,000. I mean, but the amount of things you can change and personalize onto that car is absolutely mind-blowing. When I heard that this thing might be coming into this city, I was praying that the DMV is gonna make it, that it would be the new contender, the new beast of the four doors. It's fourth, and I'm not upset about that. I am not upset about that at all. It's beautiful, affordable, and great. Yeah. No comments, John?
No, not really.
All right.
I like the car.
Here is the moment where I think a lot of you is going. A lot of you that's just gonna turn off the radio, turn off this YouTube video, or wherever you're listening to us. Number 3 is the Komoda. Start the riots. The world is ending. I didn't put Komoda as number 1, and for one reason only: $594,000. You should never pay that much money for a four-door unless it's going 200 miles an hour, while this thing only is able to push 182. I'm saying only, just into comparison with some of the other four doors that we have up ahead in the list. Yeah, John's laughing there. But $594,000 for a 5 out of 5 acceleration and 182 miles an hour top speed. Some people might push out more out of it because our test was inconsistent. One time we hit 185, one time we hit 180. We don't know what it was, but we just put the average in there, honestly. This one was weird. But yeah, no, I do not want to pay that much for a four-door. I'm sorry. Sorry, dealerships all around the city. I just do not wish to pay that much. The car is absolutely fantastic, but it's just the price. It's just an absolute killer.
Yeah. The only reason why I see this car as I would say valuable is if someone puts like an armor on it, like a tier 4, for example, because the car itself with the tier 4 is it's perfect. To be honest, it's like the car doesn't lose much value when putting on the tier 4. Like you can put a little bit more value onto the car, and because of the insane acceleration on the car, it just adds up a little bit more to the value. So
yeah, no, the Komoda is definitely a vehicle that's the most grossed. Actually, I don't think I'm using that word correctly. You see a lot of Yellow Page adverts of buying and selling Komodas. These things trade hands like crazy, and a lot of people
pretty
have them
sought
and love
after.
them. Yeah. Right, John. I think you've been waiting for this one. Number 2, take it away.
Yeah. Okay, so the number 2 is by far my favorite car on the list. It's one of the more insane cars when it comes to the top speed and how cheap they are. And this car is gonna be a surprise for a lot of people, unless they have already bought the car themselves. The car I'm talking about is gonna be the Shafter V12. It's fucking insane. The top speed is 196 miles per hour, and that's like the rough estimate of how fast I've gotten the car. both uphill and on the long stretch. The acceleration itself isn't as good. It would be around 3.5 out of 5, but I would even say it could even be upwards 4, not higher than 4 in my opinion. Uh, the thing that is so insane with this car alone is the fact that it only costs $110,000 stock. $110,000 stock at Habibi's for a car that can do 196 miles per hour. It's insane. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. It's it's by far the best top speed on this list. It's by far the best top speed hitting car on the list, and it has a fantastic price. The thing I like about this car is how much you can customize it. The interior looks nice. You have like you can change you can change the exterior, the interior. You can change pretty much everything. And not only that, the car just sounds so insanely good. It has that German, how should I say, like a German Mercedes AMG.
Mercedes, yeah.
Yeah. It has the
German-
German sound to it. It's
Yeah.
insane.
A naturally aspirated V8 by a Mercedes AMG. It's fantastic
Yeah.
to listen.
Yeah, and not only that, but the two cars we have on this top list, they are both in the top 3 cheapest cars we have on this list as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Shafter is the second cheapest car on the list, and number 1 is the third cheapest car on the list. That's why they sort of gotten over the Komoda. But yeah, anything to add, John?
Nah, I just love the Shafter V12.
I love it too. It's very subtle. Like, it's nothing crazy. It's just very subtle. And very,
It's also a sleeper car because it doesn't look fast, but it is super fast.
It's very mature, the vehicle. Now, before we get into number 1, I would like to give a special thank you to Perry Pirelli, Gary Hart, Jordan Anderson, Scarlett Smooth, Oakley Martin, and Barry McPlow for allowing us to test out their vehicles, bring them over to the border, and run
this
our
actually,
yeah.
this
because-
actually saved us a lot of money.
Yeah, we can't really fucking afford 10 cars, especially a Komoda. That's like half the fucking value of the whole list.
Yeah, true.
All right, but without further ado, number 1. Some people might say that it's a biased opinion just because I own it, but hear me out on this one. It's gonna be the Revolter, the Übermach Revolter. Top speed 191 miles an hour. Acceleration 4.5 out of 5 for only $137,000. Now these specs look kind of mediocre. Like this was definitely the hardest choice to make. Which one to make number 1? The Shafter, the top speed, or the acceleration of the Revolter? Both were around the same price, so that couldn't really be taken into consideration. But there's one factor, and there's one factor alone that has made this the number 1. Now, let us not lie to each other. We all know why we buy 4-doors. Those mischievous activities with you and your friends, with your, let's just say for legal reasons, projectile launchers. The Revolter is definitely the best choice because it has the smallest glass surface. The side windows are so small that if you have passengers in the back and they lean their heads down, you can't see them. If your windows are down, you can't see them. Their heads are fully protected by the side doors. The side doors are huge, and the glass is just small, almost on the front as well. So just bob your head down, and don't matter what kind of machine gun fire you got going on, you're not gonna get hit. I mean, the car is, and it's probably gonna die out, but still, you're gonna be fine. The back glass window still as well, it's also small. The front window, I mean, standard size, but still. The rest, you got safety right there. That is the closest thing to a tank, to a bulletproof vehicle that you can get, really. Slap some chassis reinforcement on that thing, and you have a tank. Opinions, John?
No, I think the car is pretty good.
He wanted the Shaft V12 on number one.
No. For me, it's whatever. As long as the Shiburik isn't on top, then I don't care. Oh my god, I would love to see the Panto on the list for being a 4-door, except it's not.
The Panto is a compact 2-door, man. That thing is...
Yeah.
That thing is taller than it's wider.
Yeah, but as I said earlier, imagine putting like a 400 horsepower motor in a Panto. That shit would go like, what, 190 miles per hour? And you could do pizza deliveries in it?
Oh, that. Speaking of that sort of a concept, I actually found out today that the Weevil, you know what the Weevil, the old
Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, that thing could do wheelies.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you put a fucking 400 horsepower in that thing and it wheelies. Like, that is nuts. Alright. Yeah, but that is our top 10. Thank you for listening. If you guys do wish to contribute to the to the Tires and Threads podcast, there is a bank account on the bottom of your screen. Any amount of donations are helpful, and yeah, it honestly just keeps the show going. Hopefully, next episode we will be filming in an actual studio. We just have small little preparations to do there, and yeah. Thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one.